Grace and peace to you and your families. I hope all is well with everyone. I am just so thankful, first of all, that I have a relationship with the Lord. It means everything to me. And I'm so thankful that, during the time of the uncertainties in my life, that I don't have to feel overwhelmed. And sometimes I do feel overwhelmed, but I'm so thankful that it's only for a moment, because I know how to bend my knees, y'all. I know how to bend my knees. And I'm so thankful for that. I had to start off that way because I am just so grateful that, when we do go through woes and go through challenges and adversities within our lives, that we are not alone. There is a God that listens to the cries of his people. And if you begin to cry unto him, he hears your faintest cries. And like the word and the song say, he will answer by and by. And that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Lately I've been, wrestling with this thing that I've been dealing with. And I call it what we call a crossroads. I call it a crossroads because I'm at a point in my life that I got to make a decision. And it's not just one of those fly by night decisions. It's one of those decisions that you make the decision, but have you ever been in something that you had to make a decision, and you making a decision, but there is some apprehension of, oh my God, I don't want to make the wrong decision. I don't want to live with the regrets if it's the wrong choice. And so I've been dealing with this crossroads because here I am in the Northern Virginia area. And one day I'm going to have to transition. God's sending me back to Georgia. And I think that's what I'm turning to, going back to Georgia. But regardless, I'm going to have to make that transition. And it's always that timing that you want to be right with. And I call it a sweet spot, knowing when to do it, how to do it, where to do it. That's a sweet spot, trying to get that timing right. But I'm so thankful. And you may be out there in that same dilemma right now. You're at a crossroads in your life. The crossroads may not be, your retirement for you, because that's what I'm dealing with. It could be something like you may be at a crossroads. Some young people may decide if I'm going to go to college, and if they're going to go to college, what college are they going to go to? There's somebody in a crossroad right now. They're trying to make a decision that should I marry him or should I marry her? That's a crossroad. That's a major decision. There's something that you're going to have to live with if you make the wrong choice. Now, we understand that we all have made wrong choices within our lives, but let me tell you this before I start. I'm going to read a passage of scripture, 2 scriptures in your hearing. And I'm going to read this because, listen, I don't want to make major decisions within my life to live with the regret or if I would have not made that choice. When we have a God that he does answers prayer. We have a God that says, come and cast every care upon him. We have a God that tells us in all of your ways. That's what I'm going to read in your hearing about all of our ways. He gave us a solution to the problem, and that problem is to acknowledge him. Let's read this. Proverbs chapter 3. This is a very familiar passage of scripture. Proverbs 3, and I'm going to read verse 5 and 6. And it says this: trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. In all your ways, he said, not some, not perhaps. It says, in all your ways, with the S on the end, acknowledge him. And when you acknowledge him, he promised to do something. He promised to do something for you and me with the acknowledgement. And when we acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Not maybe, shall. Now, there is a condition with that shall. That condition is understanding that God does have a timing. And I'm learning that throughout the years of walking and having a relationship with God, there is a timing with God. And even though you go and you do all those things, you acknowledge, you trust him and you acknowledge him, he still has a timing. But what happens in the timing is you'll begin to trust the process. Yeah, I said that before in another video, and it's so important. And I'm listening to my own self, even right now as I speak to you. There is a crossroads that you may be in, I'm in. But what we have to do is acknowledge him in all of our ways. Because when we know that there's decisions that needs to be made, and here's the thing, we got choices that we have to make the decision based on the choices. And y'all know that choices can be so many, and they all can look good. They could all feel good. They all sound good. But how do we know that we're making the right choice? Because it's all about your choice. And there's another scripture in Deuteronomy 30. And verse 19 tells us, he gives us two choices. He said you can choose life or you can choose death. And we understand if you choose life, what comes with life? Blessings. And what comes with death? Curses. So we got to begin to make sure we ask God, Lord, help me, because I don't know when to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it. And now right now I'm still trusting the where to do it, but I really don't know if that's where to do it. And with Crossroads, within all of our lives, we deal with these things. So, but there's an answer to the problem, and the problem is acknowledge him. The thing that I learned about this particular scripture, even this morning, when I began to pray and I began to cry out and I began to just thank God so much to have a place that I can come and what we call cast our cares upon him. And when we begin to cast our cares upon him, all this requires this thing called faith, knowing that he is faithful, knowing that when he says to do these things, he ain't saying them because it sounds so good in our hearing. He's saying them because it's going to require something from us. Anytime we make a movement, you know, faith is an action word. Anytime you make a movement, that is an action that takes place. And another action that he said, trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord, not with some of your heart, all your emotions. Oh my God. Let's stay right there for a moment. Y'all know when we make decisions or something that we deal with, it's easy to get emotional. And that emotions can take you and slap you all over the place. It can bully you around your emotions. Now, emotions is not always a bad thing because he gave them to us for a reason. They're a good emotion, something make you happy. You're going to cry, something that makes you feel good. You're going to maybe shout, dance, or jump. Emotions not bad, but we understand that when they not led, when your emotions are not led, when you don't control them jokers, they'll cause you feeling some kind of way. And one thing about emotions, they finicky. Ooh, goodness gracious. 1 minute they can feel this way, 1 minute they can feel that way, and it'll have you so undecisive, but we don't have to be. The key is to all of this, you guys, and I'm saying whoever you are that you at your crossroads, because I know I'm at mine, he gives us this answer to the problem. He said, first of all, in order for you to acknowledge him all your ways, you got to trust him. And trust is not one of those things that you say out of your mouth. Trust is a condition that you have to play a part in this thing. And the more you spend time with anybody, that's the biggest trust factor that you can ever gain. The more I spend time with you, the more I get to know you. The more I get to know you, the more I'm going to trust you. Same way with God. He says to trust him. He can make that condition to us because it's still a choice that you got to make. He says in all your ways, he's going to begin to direct your path. But in order for him to do that, you got to first trust that he's going to make, and this decision is the right decision. That's why I say the timing is important, because you may be asking God to give you directions. You may be asking God to show you when. You may asking God to show you how. Even right now, some of you want to start your own business venture, and you right there at that sweet spot. You at a crossroads because you already said that I want to start this business. I want to be a business owner, and you at a crossroads because you don't know where you're going to get the money. You don't know where you're going to set up the business. Would you get a storefront, or would you do it at home? It's just a lot of decisions. But as I stated, it goes back. You got to trust him. And in order to trust him, you got to know him. And you don't know him just by sitting in a Wednesday Bible study lesson. You don't know him just a Sunday experience. You know him by spending time. I often tell all of us when I sit and make these or stand and make these videos, I often says the importance of the power of prayer. Listen, the way you get the intimate fellowship, intimacy, it's when you spend time with God. And because when you spend the time with God, when you begin to lay anything at his feet and you saying, God, lead and guide me, you can begin to trust that he's going to do that within his timing. And you can take the weight that sometimes just have you feel overwhelmed. You can pull that off and you can lay that aside, because when you begin to trust him, he says, I'm going to do something. When you begin to trust me, the first thing you're going to do, you're going to begin to come to me. I'm so grateful that I don't have to figure this out. I've been talking about this thing with different ones, and I hear their advice and their opinions, but I'm so thankful. All of it sounded good, but it still didn't give me my resolve. I'm so thankful that I can come unto God and I can begin to ask him what to do, how to do it, when to do it. Don't you understand? If you're in the crossroads, there is a solution to the problem. And that is when you begin to put your trust in God, you can go to him and you can ask God, is he the right choice? Or is she's the right choice? Or is this particular year the right choice, God, for me to retire? You can begin to acknowledge him. And he says, see, what the thing we do, we wait for crisis to come when they're too big and we already made a dumb choice. We made the decision already and it ain't working right for us. Then we go to God. Don't do it that way. Because if you did it that way, you know you deal with and live with the regrets of that choice. We don't have to do it that way. I'm saying this now for some of us that are at crossroads within our lives, and we trying to find what to do, how to do it, when to do it. Or we trying to ask God, is this the right choice or that right choice? He says, first of all, to start with, you got to trust him. And when you trust him, you will bring the situation to him. I'm grateful for the power of prayer because I don't have to sit here and have sleepless nights. I began to ask him, God, show me, cause me to transition. You know what I need. You know what's best for me. You know all things. So when we begin to put that trust in him, when we are at a crossroads within our lives, he already guaranteed. He says, I'm going to direct your path. I'm going to have the how, when, why, and where already worked out for you. Only thing you have to do is put your trust in me. Only thing you have to do is bring it to me. Stop trying to do it on your own. Stop listening to your peers. Stop listening to, the status quos of, what everybody else saying, and take it to God. He's all knowing. He sees all things. He already have the answer to the problem. The question is, did you ask or did you make the decision? My thing is, let's trust in him. I just wanted to share this with you in this particular video, that somehow, some way, somebody else may be where I am in that crossroads. But listen, I'm going to go back to what he told me to do. He said I can cast my care upon him. And how do I do that? I trust him. I trust him that he's more than able to handle it. And then with the trust, I make that choice to go to him about the situation. I'm not trying to worry about it. I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm going to know that he is there to answer it. How would I know? And I'm say this and then I'm in this video. I know that he's there to answer because he gives this one thing nobody can counterfeit. He gives you peace. The peace that passes all understanding. When God gives you the sigh of release to say, I got it, I heard you, you're going to get this one thing. You're going to get peace. That peace that is on the inside peace. It ain't that wishy-washy peace that one moment you feel it and the next moment you don't. I'm talking about that peace even when you don't know how, even when you don't know when, even though you don't know where. You have that peace that it's going to be all right. There's a certain type of thing comes on the inside that lets you know it's going to be all right. However it works out, however it turns, it's going to be all right. The peace that passes all understanding. That's when you know that he heard you and you know that it's going to be all right. I pray that you get that. I pray that you just begin to take his word. And when you take his word, you'll begin to not just take it, you'll begin to walk it out, to begin to see what God has already done, not what he's going to do, because he says in Ephesians, he already predetermined, and I use predetermined for predestinate what's going to happen within our life. You guys be blessed. Be faithful, be prayerful. Until next time, God bless you.